discussion, we'll look at Defender XDR threat protection, how to mitigate incidents using Defender, Microsoft 365 Defender. We'll also look at things around automated response, how to manage and investigate alerts. Today, we started introduction of exploring advanced hunting, so we'll do that more by the time we discuss Sentinel. So we'll look at the coastal query language very well in depth. So today we'll be looking at some other parts of the Microsoft 365 Defender portal, talking about the Microsoft Secure Score, talk about the threat analytics, reports, and look at some configuration of the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. So I'm currently signing to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I want to show us something around Microsoft Entra ID sign-in logs, right? So Microsoft Entra ID's sign-in logs provide access to the same information that is actually available. If you look at the sign-in logs table for the advanced trend hunting, right? So if you go, I'm going into the Entra ID portal. It opens early, so we'll be able to see the sign-in logs as well. So sign-in logs basically is actually a place in the Microsoft Entra ID that shows detailed reports around different signings that has happened on the tenant or on the directory. I don't know why this is taking longer. I noticed that Entra ID takes longer to open these days. So while it's opening, let me also open down the security center. So for the sign-in logs, you can actually see it under protection, under monitoring and health. If you click on the sign-in logs here, be able to see sign-in events, right, on the tenants. Different sign-ins are actually happened. So for this sign-in events, basically, you'll be able to see things that you can download the event, right? If you need to, maybe you want to analyze it, then you have settings for to export the data settings here, and to troubleshoot. This actually give us that. Okay, so basically, you're able to see these are the different signing that has happened on the tenants. I'm able to see that today as an admin, I can see that today so far, I have all these users, signing to these tenants, right? And they also, it give me the timestamp, the date and the time when they actually, signing. And I'm able to see, okay, the user, what is the role of the user? I'm seeing that this user is a licensed administrator. I'm seeing this user, right? I'm able to see the list of all the users, their names is showing here. Then also what are the applications, right, that they sign into. So from here, I'm able to check as an admin. I'm able to see, okay, this person signed into the Azure portal, why this person signed into the Windows, right, using the account. This person signed into the Microsoft whiteboard, basically. So I'm able to see, okay, this user sign into the Bing application. So if I go down, I'm able to see all that, then I'll see the status. Okay, was the signing successful? Was there a failure? So this is just a binary kind of stuff. Either it is successful or it fails. So I'm able to say, oh, this person does a successful signing to whiteboard. Why for this person there was a failure? All right. I actually expect that there will be a failure for this anyway. So I'm able to use that. Then what is the IP address of the client's device that this signing is happening? I'm able to see that also. Then what is the location where these users are signing in for? So location is based on the machine actually. Like this person, and I know this person is actually in Lagos, but I'm very sure he must have signed in using a virtual machine that was provisioned in the United States. So that's why I have this. Then for in terms of conditional access, if there's any conditional access was applied to any of the signing that actually happened, I'll be able to see that under here. So this is also like a binary kind of stuff. So it is either it is apply or it is not apply. Then if I want to see other information around authentication requirements, was there multi-factor authentication? Was it single factor? So single factor means that these only signing using the username and password. There was no MFA, trigger. Why for this other one, I'm able to see that, oh, this user actually use the multi-factor authenticator. So basically, so if you can also query this as well using the advanced strength only way to provide different information around the dates, the users, the applications, the status, and also if conditional access policy was applied, basically. So that's everything about signing log. It's one of the monitoring tool that is actually an admin can use to check, because as an admin, you'll be able to check, okay, these users are they signing in the right location, especially when you've not actually, configured a multi-factor authentication. Like for this user now, this user will have been a risk user if I didn't know that this user is currently in Lagos, right? I know that he's currently in Lagos, where I'm very sure because I provisioned his account for him. So I know that probably he's signing in using a virtual machines. But in the event, maybe it's a production environment that you know that this user is working from a particular region. I noticed that the user is signing in from a different region. Then you should actually investigate, right? Reach out to the user. I noticed your account was signing in this location. Did you travel? Are you currently out of your current region, right? Because users are actually expected to give an admin such information, right? If they are going out or if they are going to be working from a different location, it's actually very important, because otherwise, if conditional access policy has been configured, especially for a named location, for example, now, let's say I know that this user is working from Lagos, Nigeria, and this user is traveling to the UK, right? Maybe for a vacation or something, and this user still wants to access the organization resources. And already, as an admin, I've configured a conditional access, right? When the user gets to that location, the user will not be able to sign in. Then that's when you see the user calling in or raising ticket that, oh, I'm unable to sign in. After investigating, you'll be able to find out that, oh, the user is not actually signing from the name location that has been created based on the conditional access policies. So that's everything on signing logs. If you have questions, you can ask before we move to the next topic.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, because I've been seeing this question about signing risk and user
Risk.
risk and signing risk. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the way the questions come, it's kind of confusing. So I don't know if you can just throw a little bit more light on it.
All right. So for sign-in risk, I'm trying to look for the tab. Let me just search for it. So anything you do not remember where the location is, you can always, type that and you'll be able to see what the location is. Yes. But I think it's under risky activity. All right. So we have risky user, right? Then we have risky signing, right? Now let me start with a risky signing. Now for risky signing, basically now, the goal is to actually, get if this user is actually, the signing authentication that actually happened. Maybe the user signing using a device that is not license. Maybe in our organizations, for example, now we want all users to sign in with a corporate device only. We don't want them to go about trying to sign in with their own personal devices, which can actually be infected or not. So for those risky signing, you get a report around, because I currently don't have any risky signing. You're going to get a report that shows you that, oh, this particular users, right? There is a risky signing because they're based on the conditional access policies, right? Once the conditional access policy has been set and the user is trying to, sign in, even though the user will not be aware of those policies, right? And the user is trying to sign in And for all those signings, it is actually recorded. Okay, this user is actually trying to sign in from this location, right? So this actually worked alongside with the conditional access policy. So that's the signing attempt that is happening. The report is a risky signing. Then the user that is trying to, or the user account, right, that is actually performing that particular action is a risky user itself. So the risky signing is the activity that is going against that conditional access policy. While for the risky user is it speaks to that particular user that is trying to do that particular actions. 1 second, let me get you a documentation. Risk. So majorly what we focus on is to actually use the conditional access, right, to ensure that that user is actually protected from any compromise account. Maybe an actor as a bad actor has already hacked the person's account, and probably a multi-factor authentication is not configured at that point. So for risky signings report, it's actually contains a filterable data for up to 30 days. That is 1 month. And the ID protection actually, that's the Microsoft Entra ID protection. It evaluates the risk for all authentication flows, whether it is actually an interactive one or a non-interactive one. So the recent signing will choose both the interactive and the non-interactive signing. Whereas for the risky user, what the risky user is that particular user that particular attempts. So for the user risk policy itself, it identifies and it automates responses to user accounts that may have compromised credentials, and it prompts users to actually create a new password at the point of trying to access the organization resources. While the signing risk policy, what else does it identifies and automates response to suspicious signing attack. So maybe the person's the defender portal already knows that this person's client's machine, this is the IP address. So this is actually the IP address that's the system, because of the AI and the machine learning algorithm, has already used that particular IP address. And now the user is trying to sign in from a different IP address, right? So for that one, then it triggers the sign-in risk policy, right? Because the user is actually prompted to provide an extra form of verifications using the Microsoft Entra ID multi-factor authentication. But for risky user, it's one of the things you're going to do actually, one of our demo. For the risky users, what's the the user risk policy? What it does that it only prompts the user to create a new password. But the sign-in risk policy, what it does is that it allows the user, right? The user must provide an additional verification, right? In terms of multi-factor authentication before that user will be allowed to actually sign in and access the organization data. I'm sharing this with you in the chat so you can have it.
Okay.
So those policies are basically, created in such a way that it's protect the organizations generally, and more importantly, it protects the users from those risky signing activity. Okay. Hope that answered the question. So we can jump.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So the next thing we're looking at is want to try to understand what Microsoft Secure Score is actually. Now, most of the time, I personally, if I join an organization, right, there are 3 things I check first. When I sign in, I'm giving an admin credentials, especially based on the privilege of the role, maybe especially as a global admin. I sign into the Defender portal. What am I going there? I'm going there to look for the secure score of the tenants because I want to know what I'm dealing with in terms of security. Then I also go into the Microsoft Purview portal. In the Purview portal, what am I going there to check? I'm going there to check the compliance score. In the Purview portal, I'm checking the compliance score. Then I go into the identity portal here. What am I checking in the identity portal? I'm checking the identity score. Because I want to know what are the things I'm actually currently dealing with. How protected is this tenant, right? So are the users protected, right? Are the tenants in terms of security, are the applications, are the data, I mean, are they all protected? Then I check for the compliance. What is actually the compliance score under the compliance manager? What is the current compliance score? So that I'm able to, protect the organization, find a way to improve all those scores to ensure that they are up. Now look at for this tenant now. This sits at 48.19%. So what is compliance score? So Microsoft compliance score is actually a measurement of an organization security posture, right? With a high number indicating more improvement action taken, and it can actually be found in the Defender portal as you're seeing it here. So following the secure score recommendation can actually protect the organization from threats. And now from a centralized dashboard in the Microsoft Defender portal, organizations can actually monitor and work on security of their Microsoft 365 identity, apps, and devices. Because if you see, you'll be able to see that there is a category for identity here, there's category for data here, there's category for apps here. An organization can gain access to a robust virtualization of metrics and trends, with other Microsoft products. Now, the score comparison with similar organizations. So what Microsoft is doing is that they compare this, with all organizations. Like now, is it organization with the same size? They are sitting at 47.99, while the secure score for this particular tenant is 48. So that means this is mostly higher than compared to organization of the same size, right? Now, another thing you must realize that the score can also reflect when a third-party solutions, have addressed the recommended actions. So sometimes some organizations don't just, use Microsoft solutions, especially for their security. I can say that today for my organization. Our InfoSec team, they have several tools in their archive that they use to protect our organization. So when such tool has been used to, carry out a particular recommendation, that means I don't need to come down to Microsoft again and start implementing the same tool. I don't need to do that because already a third-party solution is doing the work. Like, let me give you a practical example. We have an application called Trend Micro in my organization. What the application does is that the application protects our organization, especially from, links and attachments. So if there's a link, if somebody send an email with a link or with an attachment, right, that Trend Micro is going to scan the email, or it's going to deliver the email. But before the attachment or the link will be delivered to the email, right, the system will scan the link for any malware, for any threat at all. It's going to actually scan it, basically. Now, for such now, I don't need to come and start creating a safe link or a safe attachment policies in my organization because already I have got a third party tool that is already doing that on my behalf already. Now, for secure score generally, there are a lot of products that are actually parts that's actually that are being checked in terms of security. Now, the product currently things around the Microsoft 365 product itself, especially the exchange online. So because today no organizations, most organizations they rely they rely on emails a lot, right? So because they do a lot of sending of emails, sometimes they collaborate externally. In fact, most of the time, they are partners, they have customers that need to send email to, and they need to receive emails from there, right? So sometimes the email exchange could also involve having links or attachments, email attachments or email links. So because of that, that environment, which is the exchange online environment, it could also be an hybrid environment, right? Needs to be protected. So that's one of the products, right, that is actually included in the Secure Score. Another product that is also included in the Microsoft Secure Score is a Microsoft Entra ID itself. Now, from this here, now, if you click on this, you'll be able to see category, right? For the under the category here, you're able to see that we have identity. So identity is speaking to the Microsoft Entra ID itself. So be it the hybrid setup in which probably the users were created on-prem and they were now synced to the cloud. Then another product that is also included in the security is the Defender for Endpoints. So Defender for Endpoints focuses on taking care of all our endpoints. It could be our clients, devices, our servers, right? So Defender for Endpoint is one doing those work, and it's part of the recommendations. Then Defender for Identity is there. Then Defender for Cloud Applications is there. Then also the Microsoft Teams is also protected because today now organizations share files, organizations they collaborate using Microsoft Teams and they can share file, they can even share URL. Imagine we have a malicious user in a Teams meeting, and the person does that to send an URL that is actually a threat. So what the Defender or what the Secure Score is also scanning is also the Microsoft Teams itself, or as well as the SharePoint, the OneDrive, to ensure that the organization is actually protected. Now you can mark improvement actions, right, as covered by third party or alternate mitigations. So in a situation whereby you have a particular action that a third party application is already doing, all you need to do is to actually mark it, right? Then to take actions to improve the secure score. Let's say for this now, I'm currently sitting at 48.18, right? And I want to improve it, right? What I need to do is to actually focus on the recommended action here. So from the recommended actions, I'll be able to see, okay, what are things I need to address for possible either attack surfaces, and it can include things to address the status, right? Now in the secure score here, once I on the under the overview, I'm able to see the overview of everything that's happening, right? Tell me the secure score is a representation of the organization's security posture and your opportunity to actually improve it. And it tells me that this include what are the planned, the current license score, and what are the achievable score based on the license, that are available. So it tells me here the blue indicates what are the points that has been achieved. Then the gray talks about what are the opportunities, for improvement. And if I scroll down there, it's going to actually give me the list of everything that I have. Now, if I click on view here, it took me from overview tab to actually the recommended action. That is actually where the action actually take place. Now, under the recommended action, based on the point meaning that the score impact. Now, that means that if I take care of this action, this particular recommended action in number one here, that means the score I'm going to get from Microsoft in terms of security is going to improve my secure score by 2.09%, right? So this actually arrange it in the order of priority based on the score that you're going to achieve once you actually achieve that. If I scroll down, I'll be able to see that I have about 102 recommended actions. Now if you're looking at from down, you're able to see that some of this has been completed, right? They've been completed. So some, like from number 56 to 102, has already been completed. Then I have from number 1 to 55, right, to address. Now if you look at this table, this ranking is talking about is based on the points. Like this audition that are 2.09, for example, now they rank the highest, then followed by this 1.57, then 1.31, as you go down like that. That's how they ranked it. It tells me that this is a point. Then it tells me under here in terms of what are the points that has been achieved so far. So from here now, I've not achieved anything. As I'm seeing 0. Like for here now, I already achieved 0.05, right? If I scroll down, I'll be able to see that there are some that I've not achieved anything at all, but there are points I can actually achieve. That means I can do some part of the recommended actions, right? I'll get some points. Then some other part of the recommended actions, I will not get the point. Now, under the status here, there are just 2 status. The first is completed. That's the one that has been, you started working on it and you've completed all the recommended actions. Then the other one is to address, right? That means those are the ones that I need to actually, look at in order to actually get that score. Now, for here, let's talk about regress. Now, in terms of regress, it means that you see most of these are saying no, no, no. Why are they saying no? Why? Because there is no regress. Regress means that is there any additional feature that Microsoft has added to this particular recommended actions, right? Because of that, it's dropped down my secure score. Can you see before now, the secure score, can you see where the secure score was at 92%? Then at this point, it drops down towards to 85%. Then from here, it maintains 85.94%, then drops down to what? 47.93%. So this was actually what we call regress, right? But if you check here, it tells me that there is no currently regress, but I have a total of what? 55 to address. Is there anyone that is currently being planned? Is 0. Is there anyone that is a risk that is accepted? That means we don't need to actually, do anything about the recommended action. Then is there anyone that is recently added or recently updated from Microsoft? So based on what is actually added by Microsoft, right? Because I remember when I set up this tenant initially, I was actually sitting at 92%. I mean, I'm very sure that is at 48.19%. So it's telling me that I have a lot of work to do, right, around this secure score. So let's go back to the recommended actions. So I'm just going to do one demo. Then you can also check your tenant too and see. Just pick anyone. So I'm going to look through, okay, which ones can I do? I want to just take one that is very easy so we can actually move ahead. So let me just pick one from here. So let me pick number 3. It says enable impersonated domain protection. So once you click on any of them, either you check it or you click on it, it's going to give you an overview. Say to address that is the current status, the name of the action, right? Enable impersonated domain. Then if you click on this edit now, you want to edit the status. So currently the status is sitting as address, right? So let's say I plan to do this in this week, right? I can come and just select plan here. Then I can put in a load. Okay, I'm planning to take this action this week. I'm planning to take this action this week. Then you see if I'm close, right? So what happens is that the status is going to move from to address to planned. So it has moved from to address to plan. If you go out from here and you refresh this browser, for example, let's refresh. If I go to the overview tab here again, earlier, if you remember, under plan, we have 0 here. So it took me to 1. So from this dashboard, I'm able to see, okay, I have a planned item here. So I can go into that and that will take me to the planned item. So let me go back into it again. So if there is maybe you want to tag it, right? There's a particular tag you want to give this particular action. You have the opportunity to create a tag for it. So this is talking about impersonated domain protection. So I can just create a tag, call it domain protection. So just select, then save and close. So that is going to automatically target for me. So then under this general, right, I'm able to see, okay, what is the action plan? So I'm planning to take this recommended action based on what the feedback that I drop in the box. Then it tells me a description of this item. It says prevent specific domains from being impersonated by the sender's domain. So when you add domain to the enable domain to protect list, messages from senders in those domains are subject to impersonation protection tag. So this basically tells me what this action is going to do. Then under implementation status, it's going to make 100% of users affected by these policies are configured less securely than the recommended, right? So from here, it tells me what the status in terms of implementation is. If I click on manage here, it's going to actually take me to where to actually, perform the action. But before I do that, I can select this tab that says implementation. Now, for this implementation tab, there are two things you're going to see. The first one is that it's to tell you what is the prerequisite. Do you have a license that is actually, in the tenants to actually implement that recommended actions? If you don't have the license, so that means the first step is for you. So you have to go back to another planned year that you already created. Okay, the first step is to actually get the license, a prerequisite license. So because I have Microsoft 365 E5 on this tenant, right, and Microsoft Defender for Office 365 P2 is part of all my subscriptions, part of the licenses that comes with that subscriptions, right? So it tells me that, so there's a check mark to show that I actually have the prerequisite license. Then the next steps tells me that I ensure that all users have an assigned anti-phishing policies which enable domain to protect, including domains I own and include custom domain, option enabled by either updating your existing policies or creating a new one. So we recommend adding sender domain that you frequently interact with, even though you don't, own them. So this is telling me, okay, these are the things I actually need to do. When I click on manager, it's open a new tab. So the new tab is actually where to perform that action. So the action is telling me that I should create or I should add the domains that I go into the Office 365 antivirus. So there's a default domain one that came with it, and I can I can either click on this domain, right, and edit the domain. I can click on the on the policy and edit the policy by selecting edit policy. Then I'll be able to edit the policy based on what I want to do. But the general rule of thumb is that instead of editing a default policy, it's always advisable leave the default policy. Then you create your own domain, so your own policy rather. So I can call this policy domain protection. I can just put this description, just copy it and paste it there as a description. Or if I want a better description, I can put that there. I can just come here, what I have on that general here. I can just copy the same description that I have here, then dump it there, then click on next. So are there users or group that I want this policy to affect? All I just need to do is to select those users, and the groups maybe already created a security group, so a group of users that I want to assign the policies to. I put it there. Then is that the domains that I'm targeting, right? So I can just put the domain, just search for any of the domains, right? Just search and add. Then if I need to exclude any user from this policy at all, I'll just check this pause. Once I check the pause, I have the option open for me to exclude any user or any group or any domain. So once I'm okay with that, then I click on next. Then in terms of phishing threshold, it's a set of phishing threshold and design impersonation spoof protection. So I can leave it as standard, right? So if I want to enable for all users here, so I have the option, right? I just check this. So it will enable users to protect. So I have to enable for all the users I currently have. Then if I want to enable for domains, right? Both the domains I own and include any custom domain, I'll be able to do that. Then I can click on just check all the settings and be sure that that is what I wanted. Then I click on next. Then if a message is taken, so under action now, set what action you like this policy to take on messages. You need to turn on certain protection to access all available policy actions. So if there's any message I want to include, I can select this based on my preference. Once I'm done, I just click on next. Then I review. Once I review that, oh, everything I've done here is based on what I want, then I just click on submit here. But I don't want to create any policy so I don't mess up the environment. So that's actually what you do, right? So again, from the secure score, once you click on manage here, the manage you actually take you to that place where you need to configure the policy after knowing what the implementation is all about. So the focus of this particular policy, the focus of the implementation is to what? Enable domain to protect. So include domain I own and include what the custom domain option enable. So once these two are done, what the Microsoft the AI or the machine learning behind the system is going to actually see that those two things are done, right? And in the next 24 to 48 hours, it's going to update that for you. And that action that you just took, right? You're going to score, if the action is completed, right? You're going to score the impact score for it. And if it is completed, maybe you completed your entire action. So instead of having a 0 of 8 here, you're going to have 8 of 8, but it takes 24 to 48 hours for any of for the secure score to actually get updated. And another thing is very very important, right? Again, the license. Do I have the license for it? Yes. So you'll be able to see that, oh, I actually have the license for it here. Then another thing is that which category is affected. It's actually applications. Then which products. So I'm able to see that, oh, the product is actually Defender for Office 365. Then the last time this was synced, you'll be able to see that information there. So based on everything you've done, right? So this will show you a graphical interface of the history, things that are actually happened over the years. So it tells me that at this point, I was still at 92, but at this point, it dropped towards 85, right? From there, it's dropped again from 85 to 83. Then from 83, it came down to 57, then to 47.5. So at some point, it's increased again to 48.19. So if I can actually export this stuff, and also if there are things that has actually been done, you'll be able to see all the history. Okay, the points gained, right? The points. So you'll be able to see everything, the history based on the things you've done around the Microsoft secure score. And if you go to metrics and trend here, so this also gives you what you actually have. So it tells me that in terms of my score, I still see the data availability here. Then what are the score changes? So I have 44.67% decrease. What are the points achieved? It tells me the points achieved. What are the points regress that came down? It's going to give me that information. Then if I want to add score zones as well, I have the option to had its core zone, which is not actually important to us now. Then in terms of regression trend and regression risk acceptance trend, I'll be able to see those information in terms of the dashboard here. So is that I view the current regression action, or I view related history basically, or I can view the current risk accepted actions here. So those are the things that are available. And if you see here, you have the option to view for 90 days, for 30 days, for 70 days. And if you need to filter as well, this is also available for you. All right, so that's about secure score. Do you have any questions so far for clarification that I need?
None for now.
All right, so it's something that you can play around with, right? Check any recommended actions on your tenant and try to see the ones you can improve. Now, some of these, I will need to point this out to you because in my organization, we have our Microsoft 365 E3. So I noticed that some of these, because we don't have Defender for Office 365 P1 or P2 as standalone, and Microsoft 365 E3 actually comes with Defender for Office 365 P1. So any of this action that involves having a Defender for Office 365 you always see that if there is license already. But I'm sure I'll be surprised if I don't have license because I have the eyes of the license on the tenants, right? So I expect to have. So if you have a lower subscriptions, maybe like 365 you'll be able to see that, oh, some of this action you can't protect, you can't actually perform because you currently do not have the license. So it is either you upgrade the subscription or you get those standalone Microsoft 365 um Microsoft Defender for Office, Microsoft Defender for Office 365 P2 to be able to perform those action. All right, so another area that I want us to look at is the threat analytics. Now, what is threat analytics? Now, threat analytics is a threat intelligence solution from Microsoft security researchers. They're expert security researchers, right? And it is designed to assist security team to be as efficient as possible while facing emerging threats. So emerging threats such as active threat actor or any of their campaign, then emerging threats like popular and new attack techniques, emerging threats like critical vulnerabilities or common attack surfaces, or even the prevalent malware. So threat analytics is actually a place where the Microsoft experts, who are the security researchers, what they do, there are over 3,000 of them, over 300 of them globally, right? They come together, right, to actually put this the threat analytics together just to be able to help security teams generally. And you can actually assess the threat intelligence. As you can see, go to the Microsoft Defender portal, and under the threat intelligence, you'll be able to, see the threat analytics. So from threat intelligence here, you see threat analytics just down here, right? And from either there's even before now we used to have a threat intelligence, which is actually like a dedicated dashboard on its own. So based on that, you'll be able to see things around what are the ransomware, data around extortion that has happened, things around phishing, hands-on keyboard, activity groups, vulnerability. So this gives you a whole lot of information, right? If you scroll to the right, you'll be able to see different threat tags basically. For high impact threats that actually have great potential to cause harm, and for high exposed threats are the ones that your assets are actually most vulnerable to. So getting visibility on active and or an ongoing campaign and knowing what to do through the threat analytics can actually help equip your security operations team with an informed decision, because that's actually one of the fundamental purpose why this threat intelligence was actually brought to this particular dashboard here. So with more sophisticated adversaries and a new threat emerging frequently and prevalently, now it is actually critical to be able to quickly identify and react to emerging threats. So you need, apart from listening to podcasts, doing your research to know about different emerging threats, right? It's always very important to have this tool at your disposal, because this tool is constantly being updated by different researchers who are experts. That is the only work they are doing for Microsoft, right? And if you need to to get ahead, right, you must be able to identify and react to emerging threats. Very important, and you must learn if you are currently under attack. Now, from there was a research I was doing over the weekend. It said it takes about 100 and is it 190 days before even an organization will know that they are currently, under attack. Then maybe there's a breach or something. Then it takes another additional maybe 660 something days again to be able to, fix that particular threat. So imagine how long an organization will be exposed, and from there, they are currently under attack and they are not even aware for days, even after being aware to mitigate that particular attack. It takes another weeks, another month before on that. So this threat analytics as a tool helps you to assess the impact of threats to your assets, right? And it also helps you to review your resilience against or exposure to the threats that is actually, prevalent. Then it also helps you to identify the mitigation, the recovery, or even the prevention actions that you can take to stop or contain the threat. Now, each report, what it does that it provides an analysis of a tracked threat and the extensive guidelines on how to defend against that threat. And it also incorporates data from your network, indicating whether the threat is active and if you have applicable protection in place. So like if you check the latest threat here, let me just click on one of them, for example now. So if this particular threat, the organization that you're managing currently, have any related incident, right? This is going to actually let you know. You're able to see that, okay, this particular threat is my organization currently under this threat. You'll be able to see that. Now, for instance, here, it tells me that for here, I don't have any active incidents in my tenants, and I don't have impacted users. Since by the organization is actually impacted. So this will actually, show you what are the related incidents to this particular, this vulnerability profile, Microsoft Servicing Stack, right? And for in general, to actually view the threat analytics dashboard, right? It's to actually highlight either get the report, right? Get the latest threat, right? Or even the high impact threat. Now, if you talk about the latest threat, so the latest threat actually, list the most recently published or updated threat report along with the number of active and resolved alerts. So we're talking about the latest threat, right? For those latest trades that are actually emerging. Let me go back to the dashboard again. So this shows us different latest trades. So if there's any of those trades which are latest, if they are actually something that your organization is currently experiences, right? What's going to happen is that this is going to give you a report. Okay, you have one of these threats currently in your environment, you have 3 of these threats, you have 4 of these threats, So if there is it's an high impact threat. So for high impact threats, what it do is that they list the threats that have the highest impact to your organization. Now, what this session does is that it lists threats with the highest number of active and resolved alerts first. So what are the active, right? If I click on this, right, I'll be able to see that there is an active threat, right? An active incident. What's the incident? If I click on view all incident now, this will take me to the related incident I have currently in my organization. I believe it's because this is more than, let me take it to 6 months. I'm going to use so some of those examples. You remember those examples we are doing, right? So he's able to see that, okay, this is an active, right? This is a related incident based on this particular so based on this high impact threat, right? So I have 1 out of 70. So if it was a situation of password spray attack, for example, now if I click on this, it's going to show me overview. So it tells me about, I'm able to see the information about the threat here. I'm able to see if there's any related incidents, right? Like I said, then what is the alert over time? So there was actually at some point during our demo, then if you remember, so there was actually like an alert over time, but the alert has actually been, then if there's any action, the action status, it gives me the percentage of that particular action. Then another area is the highest exposure threat. Now, for highest exposure threats, it lists the threats with the highest exposure level first. Then the exposure level of a threat is actually calculated using 2 pieces of information. What are they? How severe the vulnerabilities associated with the threat are, and how many devices in your organizations, right, could be exploited by these vulnerabilities. A lot of times, organizations don't take this threat and analytics seriously, because if they do, they'll be able to see that most of the devices, maybe the applications in their organizations, are actually vulnerable to this threat. and they are not actually, aware that, oh, this is an highest exposure threat for my tenant at the moment. I don't actually currently have any devices that can be exploited, so that I have this particular data empty. Now, selecting the threat from the dashboard actually views the report for that threat, and in view analytics report, each analytics report provide informations in several sessions. Now, let me pick one of the threads under the impact thread, for example. Now, so I'm able to see that I have the overview, right, which actually gives me the entire overview. I can quickly understand the threads, assets, its impact, and also review some defenses. Then I have the analyst report. Now, for the overview, what the overview does is that the session provides a preview of the detailed analytic report, and it provides a chart, right? A chart that highlights the impact of the threat to your organization, as well as exposure through either misconfigured or unpatched devices. So the organizations, especially those are still running on-prem or hybrid environment, right? They have servers that there's so-called Patch Tuesday, especially if the server is a Windows server. So every Patch Tuesday, Microsoft releases a security, patch to actually protect based on emerging threats that organizations are currently feeling. Like now, if you see that this particular was actually published on October 25th, 2023, right? And the last updated time is still around I'm not sure this is correct. I think they wanted to see 2024, yeah, right? So in terms of how to assess the impact of any of these threats to your organization now, each report includes a chart, as you can see. So you have the charts there, and it's designed to provide information about the organization impact of a threat. So things around related incidents, right? Related incidents, what it does is that it provides an overview of the impact of the tracked threat, right, to your organization, with a number of active alerts and the number of active incidents that are associated and with the severity of the active incidents. So if there's any active incidents around this cloud identity abuse, which is a threat overview, a technique profile, right? That related incident is going to actually give us a list of all the incidents that we saw earlier in one of our discussion. Then the alert over time. Now, for alert over time, basically, what it does is that it shows the number of related active and resolve alerts over time. And the number of resolve alerts indicates how quickly your organizations, responds to alerts, which is associated with a threat. And ideally, the chart should be showing an alert that is actually resolved within a day. So an alert that's actually this alert over time here. So how quickly, right, the organization is able to respond to the alert. So the chart will actually show alerts that is actually resolved within few days. When was this incident resolved? The action status provides that for us. Then in terms of the impacted assets here, so we are able to see that impacted assets shows the number of distinct devices and email accounts, call it on mailboxes, that currently have at least one active alert that is associated with a track threat. And alerts are triggered for mailbox that receive the threat emails, and you can review both at the organization level or at a user level policy, for override, which causes delivery of the threat to the email. Then if you go back, we'll be able to see things around the endpoint exposure as well. So if there is a particular endpoint that is exposed, you'll be able to see that. Then if there is any prevented email attempts, which actually shows on the number of emails from the past 7 days that were either blocked before delivery or delivered to the junk email. So see the breakdown of pointer, you'll be able to see more additional email if you click on this view exposure details now. So that takes you to, if there's any vulnerability currently happening in your organization, then what are some recommended actions, right, that you can take? So this takes us back to where? Secure score. So this is actually our secure score here. So it tells me that out of all these 4 recommended actions, right, I can still take 4 more actions, right, to actually prevent this cloud identity abuse threat from happening. Any questions so far?
No question.
All right, awesome. So let's go back. Now, in terms of if you want to review your security, resilience, and posture, just like looking at the Microsoft Secure Score, it is very important that each report here that we see, each of these reports, they include a chart to provide an overview of how resilient your organization is against a given threat in terms of what I just showed you under the recommended actions here. So looking at a secure configuration status. Now the secure configuration status actually shows the number of devices which were misconfigured around their security settings. Then it applied the recommended security settings to help mitigate the threats. And devices are actually considered secure if they've applied all the track settings. Now, if you go back to that particular one that we're looking at, which is this one. So if you click on this recommended actions again, right? So I showed us this earlier that based on our secure score, it tells you that your technique profile cloud identity abuse protection score is 73%. That means I have room. There's room for actually improving this particular report. There's room for that. Then another thing that is related to this is talking about vulnerability patching status, which shows the number of vulnerable device, and it applies security updates or patches to address those vulnerability which are exploited by the threat. So those are another thing that we can also, take note. The secure configuration status, which talk about the number of devices which are which they have misconfigured security settings, while the vulnerability patch status that shows us the number of vulnerable devices, and it helps us to apply security updates or patches to address each of those vulnerability that can be exploited. Now, in terms of viewing any of those reports, trying to look for one report here now. Now, you can actually filter uh, the threat report list and also view the most relevant reports according to specific threats based on tag, what you've already categorized that particular threat, or based on the report types. Now, for threat tags actually, help you to view, it assists you in viewing the most recent and the most relevant report according to a specific threat category. So the threat tags, right? So it helps you to actually, view the most relevant reports according to a specific threat category. For example, now, so maybe you want to look at all reports that are related to ransomware, for example, now, with the help of the threats tag, you'll be able to view them. Like now, this is tag vulnerability, right? So I need to check all reports, and that is actually, tag vulnerabilities now. With the help of the threat tags, I'll be able to view them. Then another one is a report type. Now, for report type, it assists you in viewing the most relevant reports according to a specific report type. The threat tag is according to a specific threat category. That's the difference between the two. The report type, it helps you to view the most relevant reports according to specific report tag. For example, now all reports that covers maybe tools and techniques, right? For this, now we're able to see that this particular report type is talking about vulnerability. This is talking about an attack campaigns, right? If you scroll down, you'll be able to see different category. Like under this threat tag, for example, you see this threat tag phishing, ransomware, vulnerability, right? Different one. Why this report tag is focused on majorly on the specific report type. Then we have our filter hub here, which actually assists you in efficiently reviewing the threat report list and filtering the list based on specific threat, based on specific threat tags or based on specific report type. So if I want to filter any of those lists based on a threat tag, let's say I want to view just vulnerability here and click on apply. Note, it's only under threat tags, right? So it's going to show me everything that has to do with vulnerability. Even though on the threat tag they talk about vulnerabilities here, then on the report tag they talk about vulnerabilities here. Now, if I go back to the filter and I say, no, I'm interested in checking the one, let me do something that's completely now that talks about vulnerability under threat tags, but under report type, I'm focusing on attack campaigns, then apply. So what it's going to do for me is that it's going to bring out those reports that have to do with attack campaigns, right? And they're also tag vulnerability. You can see that we have like this now, we have multiple threat tag for it. It's tag phishing, it's tag activity group, it's also tag vulnerability, right? So it's helped me to actually drill down to what I actually want basically. Now, how does the Microsoft Threat Intelligence actually works? Now, the Microsoft Threat Intelligence team has added threat tags to each threat report. And for each of those tags, there are actually 4 categories that are currently available. And Microsoft is planning to add more to that. The first one is what we call the ransomware. Let me remove this filter. So Microsoft has even actually added a lot more than that. So the first time we call them the ransomware, we have another one that speaks to, when we talk about this ransomware, for example, now we have another one that speaks to phishing emails. So maybe they want to harvest your credential, they send the phishing email to you. Then we have another tags vulnerabilities, right? So for vulnerabilities, you're able to see, okay, where am I vulnerable in terms of the asset I have in my organization? Then we have the activity group. So for this activity group, for example, now let's see this. So this talk about this the explanation with a Chromium the Citrine Slate expecting a Chromium the 0-day attack, right? So it gave me the history of this particular one. So Microsoft identified North Korea. So this is from North Korean exploiting the 0-day vulnerability in Chromium. So now I identify as this to gain remote control. Oh, sorry. Okay, so able to see different of them. So this is coming from, like, this is a Chinese state actor that has been active since the at least January 2024. The name as targeted government agency and non-government. So you're able to see different of these things. I mean, these actually get you updated with the latest information, right? So again, threat tags are presented at the top of the threat intelligence page, and there are actually counters for the number of available reports that are actually available. Now, for the analyst reports, right? In terms of analyst reports, what you do here now for each of these threads, right? Under analyst reports, in the analyst report section now, you can actually read through the detailed, right, experts write-up. So Microsoft researchers have actually detailed, okay, this is what they think, or from their research, this is what this threat is all about. So you get a detailed expert write-up, right? Most reports provide detailed descriptions of even the attack chain, including the tactics that was used and the techniques. And it is also being mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, right? So there's an exhaustive list of recommendation and also powerful threat hunting guidance. So this gives us like the security summary of what the threat, this particular threat is all about, right? Then what is it targeting? What are the targeting details? You know, from there, what are the tools and the TTPs? Then the initial assets using public facing applications, you know, the MITRE ATT&CK techniques that was used, you're able to get the full details of it, and also the recommendation, then assess through impact before, you know, deployment. You're able to see everything around that particular thread. Then the related incidents is where you actually view and manage the related incidents, like I said earlier. So the tab provide a list of all incidents that are related to the track threads, and you can assign the incident or manage the alerts that is actually linked to that particular incident. Of course, it's only if this is showing for you in your organization. Then the imparted assets here. Let's talk about the list of all the imparted devices as well as the mailboxes. So if the asset that is imparted is actually a device, you see them listed here. If it's a mailbox, you see listed as an application, right? You see them listed there basically now. So an asset is actually considered imparted if it's affected by an active and unresolved alert, right? And the imparted asset tab lists the following types of the imparted assets. So it gives you things around imparted devices, which are like the endpoints that have unresolved Microsoft Defender for endpoint alerts. So if there are alerts from Microsoft Defender for endpoint for a particular device, and that particular alert has not been resolved yet by the expert, a SOC engineer. So, and this alert typically fires on citing to know the threat indicator and also the activity that is happening. That's for the imparted. Talking about the devices that are imparted. Then, of course, the user that are imparted is actually maybe the user that is actually using the device. Then another important thing is about the mailbox that are imparted. Now, the imparted mailbox is actually the mailbox that have received the email messages that have triggered the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 alert. So once a particular user receive an email and the email that was received triggered the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 alert, that particular mailbox or user call them imparted mailbox. So while most messages that trigger alerts are typically blocked, user or org level policy can actually override the filter. So if there are cloud resources here, there are cloud resources that are affected by the same particular threat, you'll be able to see them here. So this talk about devices, users, mailbox and application. Now another thing you see is the prevented email attack. Now, for any email attack that has happened, and has been prevented, what happened is that the Microsoft Defender, by the time we look into Microsoft Defender for Office 365 under our email collaboration here, talk a lot about this actually now. So what the Microsoft Defender for Office 365 does is that it typically blocks email with a known threat indicator. So long that email has a known threat indicator especially from this threat analytics, because the machine learning, the AI for the system has actually been, has been trained with those data. So the moment it's noticed that particular threat indicator, it blocks that email. That's why today we have a situation of false positive and false negative, right? False positive, talking about an email, right, which is actually an email which is actually how will I put it, sent from a bad actor that should actually go to a junk folder, being received right in the inbox. Then false negative, that talks about the email, right, that should be received, and the first one talks about the email that should be received and is going to the junk folder. The second one talks about false negative, the email that should not be received and is now being, being received by the mailbox of the users. So those things are actually happening because of the machine learning algorithm that is being used to train the AI behind these Defender solutions, right? So it can block the image so long because it is from the training is an AI, right? So that's why we have the option for quarantine. We'll actually look at that under review once it's called emails and collaboration. Let me just show you quickly. So this quarantine, you have the option as an admin to review what are the emails that has been quarantined, in the last 30 days. And if you want to have the option to, so I'm able to check. Let's say, for example, now, if I click on this particular email, right? So we'll discuss this in more details. What is the subject of the email? This is the subject of the email. So what was the reason why it was quarantined? It was quarantined because it's considered an high confidence fish. Now, why was it considered that there was an anti-spam policy called test policy? So I think I must have configured this test policy, right, based on some stuffs to actually, quarantine the email. Now, as an admin, if I feel that, oh, this is false, this is actually false positive, right? I can have the option to release the email. If I feel that so it's actually a phishing email, have the option to actually, delete the email, right? Then I can even block the sender from even sending emails. Well, we'll discuss that in details by the time we are discussing the Defender for Office 365, right? So I say it typically blocks email with known trend indicators, and it also this can actually include maybe the email has a malicious link or malicious attachment, and in some cases it actually proactively filter the email from suspicious content. We instead to send this trend email to the junk folder, right? And in either case, the chance of threats launching a malware code on the device is actually reduced with the help of the Defender for Office 365. Now, the prevented email, if you go back to our threat intelligence again, MSC, one that's do its emails. So the any email that has been prevented, basically, right? They get to show in the prevented email tabs and list the email. Either the emails are being blocked before delivery, or those emails are sent to the junk email folder by the Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Now, we also have the exposure and mitigation. Now, for exposure and mitigation, right? It actually reviews a list of specific actionable recommendation that can help you, increase your organizational resilience against the threat. And the list of tracked mitigation could actually include things around security updates. So if there's it's actually a deployment of a supported software security updates for vulnerability that has been found on an onboarded devices. So maybe you onboard a device using Defender for Endpoint, right? And we notice that there are actually some software security updates for vulnerability that are found on that device, right? So this helps you to check list of mitigations and also the status of your device and supported security configuration. So it could be things around cloud delivered protection or potentially unwanted application, PUA protection, or it could also be a real-time protection. So those are the supported security configuration that actually, comes alongside with the threat intelligence. And mitigation information in the session could actually incorporate data from your threat and also from your vulnerability management, which also provide a detailed drill down information from various links in the report. And for those various things in the report, it actually helps a lot because you're able to get different data, things around the threat and also things around the vulnerability management. And those detailed information helps you to be able to, you're able to make informed decision as a SOC engineer. Now, to actually set up email notification, right? It's very important that we actually, look into how to set up the email notifications. So how do we do that? From the Defender portal here, we'll look for settings. You click on the settings here, right? From the list of the settings, you're going to see emails and collaboration. Going to Microsoft Defender XDR. So inside the settings in the Microsoft Defender XDR, you'll be able to see your email notifications here. Now for email notifications, you can go into your threat analytics, right? And here you can actually, create a notification rule. You click on that. So what are some notifications that you want to get, right? So you can first of all give the name of your rule, notification, thread, and just put any name. It can be anything, right? So you know what you're trying to create. Let's paste it here. Then you check this box that says turn this on. So we go next. So what are you notifying for? You want to notify for all new and updated threat analytics, or you want to notify for just new and updated reports with certain types, tags or report types. So if your preference is for all new and updated threat analytics reports, yeah, just select that and go next. Select that and go next. Right? So you have the option to add recipients. What are the people that you want them to receive notification? So if you have a SOC team, for example, now you can just add your SOC team, put their email address. So put the email address of each of them. So let me just put okay. So type in the email address of everybody you want to. So if you want to send a test email, you can even, do a test email, right? Based on the rule, right, that you've created. So it's very important that you choose the kind of reports you want to be notified about. So you can choose between being updated about all the newly published or updated reports, or only those reports that have certain type, as you saw. Then you can also select at least one recipient. You must select at least one recipient, which you can also use the screen to check how the notifications will be received by the email. That's sending this test email. I don't know why this is not sending for some reason. Then let's click on next. So you have the option to review the rule. Once you review this rule here, then you can click on create the rule. So that's actually how to set up email notification for report updates. So if there are any report updates, right, based on threat analytics, you'll be able to, this particular user will be able to, receive that particular report that has been created. So what you just see is that it tells you that your new rule has been created successfully, and you just click on the done like you did to complete the process, and you close out the file out. So your new rule will actually appear as a list under the threat analytics email notifications. Yeah, any question? Any question on threat analytics? Yeah, Abdul, you're talking on mute.
Yeah, no question. Sorry, I was talking. I didn't know my mic was off.
Okay, all right, it's fine. So that's actually it about threat analytics, right? So the next we'll look at before we call it a day, so is to actually configure the Microsoft Defender portal. Now this same settings page you can see now. What it does is that it actually helps you to configure related Microsoft Defender products. There are a lot of products, right, that Microsoft Defender has, and the specific settings for Defender products will actually, is currently all things that will be discussing. Once we get to each of those particular, maybe Defender for identity, Defender for endpoints, right? You see specific, settings, right, for each of them. So for the email that we just configure, right, you can actually configure in terms of email notifications. You can either configure email notifications for threat analytics. You can also configure email notification for incidents, right? Now for incidents, what email notification for incidents does for you is that, so when new incidents are created, it notifies, right? If you click on add incident notification, you can just put on new incident, all right? You can just put, maybe you have a particular tag, you can just click on next. So under notification settings, it says set up the alert notification you would like to receive. You may create multiple settings for different services and also for different detection source. Maybe you want different notifications, right? So you say send only one notification per incident. That means this will only send once. Then include organization name in the email or include tenant specific portal link. So let's send only one incident, right? So what is the source? So you have different sources here. So like look at different things you have here. Under Defender for Identity, you have Defender for Identity, Defender XDR itself, then Defender for Cloud Apps itself, and Defender XDR, then Defender for Endpoints, EDR. So you can select anything, so based on what you want as an organization. So let's say I want to do Defender XDR here, and I also want to do Defender XDR for Cloud Apps, Defender XDR for this, for example. Then let me see another one. Let me say I'm okay with that. Then if I want to add services. So what is the alert level? If I want to just be, I want to monitor things that have to do with high alerts, right? Okay, this is real. Okay. Want to put additional sources, right? I can update this notification. Say, okay, I want to check on custom detection rule, also app governance, right? And under this, talk about identity protections, right? Okay, click on severity. I want this to be medium. Then click on next, right? So recipient email address. So let me put my test account email address. We had send the test email. I think I should receive. Okay, something like this happens anyway. So you can click on next. So I'm able to see, okay, for Defender for XDR Cloud Apps, that my sources. Then I can click on submit here. So in terms of managing incidents email notification, so you can actually view or add or edit it. You can view, you can add or edit email notification for your organization, by following all the steps that we just did. Let me refresh this. So I don't know why it's not showing yet. Let me see this. This is showing. This is showing. It's loading. Let me just do for these and these. Next. Severity. Next. Email. Okay. Add. Next. Submit. Okay. Here is scripted. Then done. All right, so that's how to create for both. So we've actually created one for threat analytics before, so it's still the same way. Now for the action, you can actually create notification for actions as well, but you don't actually need that for this session. So we'll be rounding up there for today. I'm going to drop something for in the chat in case you might need the steps as well to create one. Yes, do you have any questions so far? For call it a day for today.
No, I was trying to just correlate the alert notification setup with automation rule. So, but I think I understand it doesn't actually work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So, sorry, let me just quickly ask about the